Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Didn't win the home league, but I won my home dynasty league.
Okay.
$100.
There you go.
So now I can pay the home league guys.
There you go with the money.
Yeah. But yeah, won a fantasy championship in a dynasty league. That's 2 fantasy championships in dynasty leagues in 3 years. So that's great.
There you go.
Yeah. And I made the playoffs and lost in a league I was tanking in. So wee.
I took home, I think, 3 championships last year.
This year?
In dynasty leagues, and I think it was 2, actually. It was 2 or 3. This year, I did not win anything. I went 0 for 2 in championship week. I went like 0 for, or I went 2 for like 5 in the semifinals.
Tears shedding.
It was a tough week 17 for me in week 16.
Yeah. So what I
and I want to blame Stephon Diggs.
Oh yes, this is what I was going to say. I tend to trade for in the off season players that I think are going to be good that season. And I also happen to, in my redraft leagues, draft those same players. So every year, my team either does really well and wins, or they don't. And I'm trying to figure out, well, like last year, I made it to the playoffs in every league, but didn't win the championship. And so I had all the same stupid players. And I had Stephon Diggs in many leagues for whatever reason. And that killed me. But you know who else I had? Kyron Williams.
Yeah, he was a big-time league winner.
He's a bona fide freaking G, dude. And we got some stuff to talk about this offseason. It's going to be wild. I want to see because like running backs, dude, I don't even know. And I got some new strategy ideas that I'm going to bestow upon you that are different than I have ever had in my entire fantasy football life.
Okay.
And this is going to be a wild, emotional experience for me, pivoting off of my strategy for the last 10 years.
That you finally hopped on the bandwagon.
I still don't think it's going to work, but I will advise you guys to do it and drag you along. So anyway, we'll get to that over the next month, but we still got one more week of the NFL season. Rick and I will break that down. Let's get the stupid show notes or the introduction out of the way, and then Rick and I can just talk about what the hell happened this week. Before we jump into our booms and busts, booms and busts, and then we'll do some week 18 waiver wires for those of you who are still sitting out there waiting for your fantasy championship to happen. Don't know why you would be doing it this week.
If you're out there playing fantasy football still, week 18, I don't know what you're doing.
And who knows? Maybe there's some dudes out there in dynasty leagues that have light benches that want to make some waiver wire ads right now. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I will talk about the booms and busts. That'll be the main portion of the show, and we'll discuss some things that happened. Maybe get into some playoff crap because that's fun. But anyway. Before we do any of that, check out OSIFantasyChampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review. Share the pod with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you may have for us. All right, Rick, did you enjoy Week 17? Because that's technically going to be the last week where we have interesting football games besides the Dolphins and the Bills this week.
I didn't hate it. Obviously, not a lot of things went right for me all week. So it was kind of a tough week for me.
Yeah.
The only thing that I really enjoyed was the Cardinals beating the Eagles and the Patriots losing to the Bills for the Patriots draft hopes. But outside of that, not a lot of things went well for me this week. So
yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah, I won. I think I was in one fantasy championship and I won it. So that was good. Didn't make it. I was in the semifinals in 4 leagues out of 6. So... and I didn't make it in, what was that, 3 of them?
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, yeah, the NFL. So the playoffs are right around the corner. This week we have some interesting things happening in the hunt for the AFC still. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-7, Buffalo Bills at 10-6, so they're out of it. If they lose,
they're the 5 seed right now.
Are they? What? Hold on a second.
They're the 5 seed right now. But there is a scenario that if the Texans win and the Steelers win, then the Bills are in a scenario with the Dolphins that if they win the division, and if they lose, they're out of the playoffs completely.
Oh,
but the Steelers...
NFL.com changed their playoff picture thing and made it way more confusing than it needs to be. So you are correct. Yes. The Bills actually happen to be the 6th seed.
Who's the 5 seed?
The playoff teams
right now. They're the only wild card team with 10 wins.
Ravens in the AFC, it's Ravens 1, Dolphins 2, Chiefs 3. We have the Jaguars at 4 because they would win their division. I don't think the Jags can get into the playoffs unless they win their division. And then they have Buffalo 6 and Indianapolis 7.
Wait, who's 5?
The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns are at 11-5 right now.
Okay.
So the teams that are officially in the playoffs and have clinched are the Ravens, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Browns. So that's the 1, 2, 3, and 5 seeds. I believe the Browns, the Ravens have the AFC North, and the East is the Dolphins. So whoever wins the Bills-Dolphins game wins the AFC East, which that happens to be a Sunday Night Football game. The Chiefs won the AFC West this weekend, and then obviously the Browns can't win the AFC North. As far as the AFC South is concerned, the Jaguars play the Carolina Panthers, and the Colts play the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe the Jaguars hold the tiebreak over the Colts right now.
They do.
And if they beat Carolina, they're in. T-Law going to be there for that game?
They just played Carolina.
Oh, that says Week 17 versus Carolina. Who are they playing?
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Yeah, wow. NFL.com, please update your rankings. But
they play the Titans.
That's interesting. So the teams that are on the bubble are the Texans and the Steelers right now at 9-7, respectively. According to the playoff probabilities, Steelers have a 29% chance of making the playoffs. Texans have a 46% chance of making the playoffs. And
the Texans play the Colts. So does that mean the winner of that game is a wild card? They put it on primetime, too.
When is it?
I think it is.
Is that Saturday night?
Saturday night. Yep.
Ooh. I got a little excited. Hold on a second. That won't show up on the show, hopefully.
It's like the first playoff game.
Yo, I'm excited about that.
And it's C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, so that's probably why the Steelers have no chance of... Because the only way the Steelers get in is if they tie, no?
The Steelers have the tiebreaker with Buffalo.
Oh, so if
they
Buffalo
win,
loses and the Steelers win, Buffalo's out?
Yeah.
Wow, but it does say that seems way too easy for the Bills to have a 94% chance of making the playoffs.
So maybe, I don't know.
Who are they playing this week?
Well, the Steelers are playing the Ravens.
Oh, yeah, they're going
to lose.
Yeah, they're going to lose. So that's the AFC. The NFC, however, has 100 million people. So right now, the seeding as follows. 1, 49ers. 2, Cowgirls. 3, Lions. 4, Buccaneers. 5, Philadelphia Eagles. 6, Rams. And 7, Packers. Teams that have officially clinched a playoff spot. 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles, and your Los Angeles Rams. So
there's a lot of teams in the hunt.
Yeah, I was going to say the teams fighting for playoff spots. Divisions for the Buccaneers would be the NFC South. So Buccaneers are 8-8, Saints are 8-8, and the Atlanta Falcons are 7-9. I swear, if the Atlanta Falcons make the freaking playoffs with Arthur Smith as their head coach, I might riot.
There would have to be a lot of things to go right for them.
So it's essentially just the entire NFC South fighting for the division. And then a couple of other teams fighting for that last wild card slot.
The Seahawks and Saints are the only two teams that look like realistically could make it because the Vikings have a 3% chance.
Yeah, because they lost.
The Falcons
to the
have a 10%.
Interesting.
It would be
all right.
unlikely.
So that's the update there. I mean, next week it should be interesting to see how everything kind of pans out, but. My goodness, the Eagles and the Cowboys are just a whole group of collapse
Right?
Oh, these guys are
Neither of
going to
those
win the
teams want to
NFC.
win the division.
440, yeah, they're like, frick this. I want nothing to do with that.
It's funny though. Right now, the Lions would play the Rams in the first round.
That's crazy.
It's Matt Stafford's return to Detroit in Detroit's first playoff game in 15 years or whatever.
So Detroit would play, you said the Rams?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Detroit.
That's NFL's wet dream right there.
Give me my hopes. They need the Lions, man. You don't know how many people are rooting for the Lions-Browns Super Bowl. Joe Flacco.
That'd be hilarious.
Versus Jared Goff.
I don't think the NFL wants it to go that far, though.
No, that's a little bit too much. But the Lions in the bowl would be a fun ride.
I think the Lions
for
just
the Chiefs to win their second straight Super Bowl.
Be good.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so those.
How are the Chiefs after all this time the 3 seed? And they've had a awful end of season. They might finish 10-7 and get the 3 seed.
Because the AFC is just trash.
Unless Jacksonville has the tiebreaker over them, but they'll probably win this week. Be 11-6.
The benefit is that they do if the Chiefs win the first round of the playoffs, they will play Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game ever.
Yeah, but it'll probably be in Miami. You know what though? If the Bills win this week, the Chiefs move up to the 2 seed.
Oh come on!
Unless they lose. There's a lot of seeding. The Ravens locked the 1 seed.
Yeah, they're done.
So that means the Steelers could win because they might not start Lamar.
Ooh, yeah, but if it means, you know what? Too maybe you want to get the Bills out of the playoffs now.
Yeah, who knows?
Wild.
But if the Bills win and the Steelers win, then the Bills would still be in because they have a game ahead.
That's interesting. But anyway, all right, there's your
a lot could go down.
There's your playoff stuff. I just wanted to touch on that because, the NFL playoffs are literally 1 week away. So, or 2 weeks away, I should say. But anyway, we did have fantasy football this week, and we did have some booms for you. Okay. And we had some big fat old busts that we got to get to. So, my goodness, I didn't even do the show notes, so I will do my best.
Yeah, let's see who lost me my fantasy championship.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. So let's move to. I don't have my complete standings here. We should do after next week. We should do a booms and bust show on the whole friggin' season.
We should.
I
can give you the list.
This week we have number 1 at the quarterback position, Lamar Jackson with 36.3. So if you made your chip and you had Lamar, congratulations.
And you won.
You probably won. Jordan Love had 28.4. And Justin Fields had 25.2. So a low-scoring quarterback week. I would say a lot of teams had Josh Allen, who finished with 22.2, which would put him at QB6 on the week. And then Justin Fields
Jalen
was
Hurts
probably in a lot.
too.
Jalen Hurts, who was 20. So your league-winning quarterbacks, generally speaking, performed this week, which is good. But your top 3 were Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, Justin Fields. How you feel about these guys?
I mean, Lamar was so consistent all year, and he still finishes the QB3. Jordan Love was really good. Jordan Love finishes the QB5 in all fantasy.
Unreal.
Yeah, really interesting. And then Kyler, man, what a pick! He was dropped in our home league. I don't really know why. Although he was kind of inconsistent when he came back, but was still pretty good. And then Fields as well, as you mentioned. Fields had so that's a weird thing because if you made the playoffs to Fields, you probably didn't get this far unless you had him on your bench. If you had him on your bench for week 15 and then play him in for the last 2 weeks, you might have won a fantasy championship.
Yeah, the guy in the home league had him.
Oh, really?
Yep. So, yeah, there you go.
Right.
There's that. Some busts at the quarterback position this week. We have, this is funny. I just bring this up because Rick was freaking hilariously roasting me in the middle of the season when Sam Howell was good at quarterback.
Okay.
He
was I roasting?
He unceremoniously fell apart.
He did. And he's not an NFL quarterback. I liked him because his rushing, okay? And he didn't even really rush that much this year.
Yep.
He did have 5 rushing touchdowns, so I guess he rushed a little bit.
Yep.
But, he after all of that, he still finished as QB 11.
Mm-hmm.
So go suck an egg.
You freak out of you. For a guy that's not going to start next year. All right, so your major bust this week, the 3 major guys. Patrick Mahomes, if you made it this far, had 12, but he really hasn't been good since like week 14 or week 12.
He costed me a league the league that you won. I might have won. I think I lost you in the semifinals by like a couple points. And Mahomes didn't necessarily lose me in any games, but he didn't win me any games.
Yeah.
He was scoring under 20 points every single week in the playoffs.
It just goes to show you that every quarterback, regardless of skill level, probably needs a weapon. But I would say for Patrick Mahomes, like if you're in a dynasty league, this would be because Mahomes is not a rushing quarterback, and it's simple. He does apply some rushing statistics to his game, but he's primarily a pocket passer, and he'll probably rush for 20 to 30 yards a game, which is a good base floor. But like, he's not going to be a dude that's like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts getting to the goal line and getting shoved in by his fullback. So it's
13 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, it's not going to be the case for Patrick Mahomes. So it kind of makes me feel like if you have Mahomes, the amount of value you could get for him in a super flex dynasty league right now is far greater than what you're probably going to get from him fantasy-wise. So, fantasy trade block for Patrick Mahomes in the dynasty leagues?
Okay.
You also had Jared Goff if you were starting him. He had a really good season. I don't know where he finished. If Rick wants
QB8.
QB8. But he finished as a terrible quarterback this week and had 12.8 fantasy points.
He was my stud of the week at quarterback this week.
There you go. And then Stroud, my dude, my dog, my legend. He had a really good season. Finished as QB 13. Missed some time with injury. Started off 1 week slow. But this week he finishes with 12. So if you made the fantasy championship with him hurt the last 2 weeks,
that was probably frustrating if you had him because he was injured and then he started off really good.
Yeah,
but they were up by like 20-something points against the Titans, and they just ran the ball the whole second half.
I hate that. I hate watching football. Like when people aren't paying attention to the game, and then I say like, "Oh, I lost," or "Oh, it's over." It means that I'm watching the game, and the team is winning by 1 million, and they're not going to try to score anymore. So that's when I know it's over for me. The chances of me scoring a touchdown are very low.
CJ Stroud missed 2 games this year.
Yeah.
And he still might be he'll probably still throw for 4,000 yards as a rookie. 23 touchdowns, something like that, or 5 interceptions. It's a really good year.
So they're your busts at quarterback. Let's move the running back position, talk about some booms. Top 3 guys that we have. Kyron Williams had 30.1 fantasy
league
points.
Winner.
Bonafide.
Look at his stats since week 12.
38, 20, 14, 24, 16, and 30. He's running back 5 on the year, and he missed 4 games.
Yeah.
So Kyron Williams, top 3 running back in fantasy football next year on the draft board?
They used him like we hoped they would use Cam Akers, and they used him like they did Todd Gurley. He was a pure workhorse.
Yeah, so
in the McVay offense.
Early predictions, because we'll do a whole show on this and predict the first 2 rounds of a fantasy football draft.
Oh yeah, he'll probably be first 2 rounds, probably first round, and I'm not going to draft him. I will probably not draft him.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, he kind of feels like Tony Pollard to me. But Tony Pollard finished. He still finished as a top 12 running back, I believe. Maybe not after this week, but anyway, Isaiah Pacheco 29.5. So also, I would say this is another dude in the fantasy playoffs that he's the RB13 on the season, and he was kind of okay all year. 213 fantasy points, but so like beginning of the season 9, 8, and then he had 15, 24, 13, 15, 16, and you're like, okay, now Pacheco's rolling, and then he had 6, bye week 10. So like, what the hell's all this? And then he gets 25, and then 21, misses 2 weeks, gets 10, and then he finishes with 29.5 in the fantasy championship. So Pacheco was a really solid running back all season for your team. Like, there was a roller coaster at times, but he was able to put together some really good performances.
Yeah.
Breece Hall had 27.3, so 43 fantasy points and then 27 fantasy points to end in the fantasy playoffs.
He could have been a league winner too if you got that far.
Yeah, if you got that far.
I had him in a redraft league, and I lost the first playoff week because he scored 2 points.
Now, he is running back 4 on the year right now.
Yeah.
So right now you have CMC 1, ETN 2. Who's 3? Can you see 3?
I have to pull up the full list
because I can't see 3.
Let me look it up.
Who the freak is 3? They must have busted this week if they're this low on this freaking list.
Is it McCaffrey? No, McCaffrey's 1. You said
McCaffrey 1, Travis Etienne 2.
Is Kyrie? Was Kyrie there? Oh, Raheem Mostert.
Oh, probably. God, get the frick out of here, Raheem Mostert. He missed this week. That's why he wasn't on there. So, yeah, McCaffrey, Etienne, Mostert, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams. So, I think the top 3 running backs in fantasy football next year are going to be CMC, Travis Etienne, and Breece Hall. No?
Probably.
I mean, Gibbs.
There's some guys that Gibbs. I mean, if Arthur Smith gets fired, is Bijan Robinson back in that conversation?
Be a top 5 too. Oh, this could be interesting. I'm already doing my rankings in my head. But those are the top 3.
Where does Devin A-Chain end up?
I don't know. Well, you know what? I think he'll probably be in like the first 3 rounds.
What about Jonathan Taylor?
Second round. I'm gonna take a wild.
Probably. He was good though when he finally started playing.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. All right, let's talk about some busts at the running back position. Austin Eckler with 4, so I think he's done.
Yeah, I was on that boat for a while, but he's washed.
Guess who else is done? Derrick Henry with 4.
The old man running backs.
Yeah.
Oh, finally.
He's RB10
we knew it wouldn't last.
RB10 on the season, so he was good.
He did get to RB10. He had a couple good games, but that's kind of what we said, right?
Yeah.
He could have some good games still. I think he might be done though.
Yeah.
I think Eckler is, and Derrick Henry. Well, Eckler will have a role still. He'll probably be like a third down back.
As soon as these guys end up leaving their respective football teams, it's over.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a real possibility for both of them.
But those are 2 very large names in your fantasy championships. like there's a good chance that if you had Derrick Henry, that if you had like a bye week, because he had a stretch at the end of the season here in week 12, 13, and 14 where he had 20, 25, and 18. So like if you had Derrick Henry all season and you had a bye week, you really didn't need that week 15 matchup. I know in the home league the person that had him had the bye week, and then they had 21 in week 16. So and they somehow won the championship with 4 fantasy points in their lineup. But yeah, so Eckler and Derrick Henry, big names that don't pan out. What a waste of a first round. I mean, a top 3.
I would be really surprised if you won your championship with either of those guys, especially Eckler though.
Yeah. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, man, if you drafted him and you got the breakout of a century in the second half of the year, and then he gets 5 fantasy points in the fantasy championship, that makes you rage a little bit.
Yep.
I
had him in one of our dynasty leagues, and he sold me.
Some other guys quickly. Tony Pollard with 5.9. I'm done with Pollard. Solid RB2. Super solid RB2. He had 22, 19, 15, and then he had 9, 8, and then 17, and then a bye week.
He was really
6,
disappointing.
9, 5, 18, 23, 7. I thought he figured it out. 18, 22, 17.
Well, look at his
16.
efficiency with Zeke versus without Zeke. Like last year, he had 5.2 yards a carry. This year, he was at 3.9.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because they can't. They were never on the field at the same time.
I know, but I don't know. I don't know how to. Yeah, I have no answer.
What I don't know is what Dallas is going to do at running back. I have a feeling that they might draft a guy or go after a guy to try to figure it out.
I could easily see them drafting a guy.
But I could also easily see him running it back with Tony Pollard.
Sure. I could see them drafting a guy and just playing both, like they had Zeke and Pollard.
That's fair. Yeah. But like I said, for fantasy football purposes, Pollard wasn't like horrible. He just wasn't great. Yeah. He was a solid like second running back for your team if you had a stud. The problem on my fantasy team is he was my number 1 running back.
What about another running back that kind of cost me was Alvin Kamara?
Oh yeah, 6 fantasy points.
He got suspended at the beginning of the year, came back, was awesome all year. He was great all year. Last 2 games of the season were his 2 worst games, 8 and 6.
Yeah. Yep. Not
These
good.
old men running backs, dude. Other than Gibbs. Gibbs was the only young guy.
It cost a dude a playoff spot in our home league. His whole team kind of collapsed all at once in the Final Four or whatever. So, we also had DeAndre Swift at 7. I'll throw him in there. And then Barkley with 8.
Swift is someone that we're going to talk about too in the offseason, where he looked like he finally was like the guy and was having a monster season. But after the bye week, he was very mid.
The whole Eagles team kind of went limp.
Fell off, yeah.
All right, let's move to the wide receiver position. We have a couple of guys. CeeDee Lamb, obviously the league winner of league winners this year. We'll make a show about league winners and guys when we're looking back, and he's going to be number 1.
Dude, this makes me so sad because I was in a league where I had CeeDee Lamb and Breece Hall.
And you lost.
And I didn't get it that far. Yeah, I lost in the first round.
Unbelievable. But
because Breece Hall had 2 points.
CeeDee, you drop 40 in a fantasy championship. That's something where you're like, oh, I remember that year. Yeah.
Yep.
Devontae Adams had 37 this week.
He's the wide receiver 1 in all fantasy.
Yeah, it's CeeDee Lamb.
No, Justin Jefferson.
Well, that's because Tyreek missed time, though.
It is. And Jefferson's injury, he probably would have been. And
Chase, too,
with
he's
Burrow
still top
his
5.
situation.
Hey,
he's still top 5.
Rick, remember when we were talking about the breakout for CeeDee? It's here finally.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say it was their last. He was wide receiver 5 last year.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Devontae Adams, though, had 37.6 fantasy points, so he played really well if you made the fantasy championships and had Devontae Adams as your...
I don't think he made it that far.
He finished as wide receiver 11 on the year, and I think before this week, he was somewhere in the vicinity of like 14, 15, or 16, so...
He kind of finished where we thought he would, though, right?
Yeah.
I think we said like wide receiver 10 to 12, like a low end wide receiver 1, and people were getting mad at us.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wasn't in our top 5, but this is where he's at.
And then you had DJ Moore, who finishes as the wide receiver 8 through 17.
Yeah, he had a great year.
He had 2 pop-off weeks, though. He had the 50.
I put him on my freaking bench, dude, because he was sucking the last 2 weeks. And Atlanta was a top 5 hard matchup.
You see, this is what you're talking about. And then he goes out and he drops a friggin' turd nugget on your face.
Yep.
Thank you, DJ Moore. Wide receiver 8, though. Inconsistent, so he's kind of like he was a boomer bust play. And I think that kind of goes with, I guess, the theme of DJ Moore and the Bears, because like they have Justin Fields at quarterback. Some weeks he's going to
Can I give you one more guy real quick?
Sure.
That he was 4th on the list?
Yeah.
Is Jaden Reed. He's going to be a name that we're going to talk about a lot. Off-season.
In the off-season, yeah.
I might be very big on him.
Well, maybe we should think about this, because you're getting all looped up about a mid Jordan Love throwing 30 touchdowns.
Okay, you call him mid, but he has 30 touchdown passes.
Yeah, so did Kirk Cousins have all those years, but that doesn't unmidify him.
Listen, if he can make Kirk Cousins is mid, throws 30 touchdowns. We all love him in fantasy. We all love Justin Jefferson. So
that's true. No, for fantasy football, you're right though. The second half of the season here, what Jaden Reed did was really good. From week 10 to 17, he had 19, 19, 15, 5, 20, 17, and then 26. He missed week 16. So
I just want to say too, we didn't watch this game because it was New Year's Eve. But against the Vikings, he had a 31% snap percentage. He got hurt in like the second quarter. He had 26 points in like a half, pretty much.
Wow.
Dude was electric.
That's crazy. Yeah, so for that stretch of time that I just gave you, Jaden Reed was a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy football. So that could be a cute little late round guy.
He's there in like the 6th round next year.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if he's going to be that high. But
7th round?
He might be. 7 to 10, I think, is probably where he'll land, but I could be wrong on that. But anyway, let's talk about some busts at the wide receiver position. The wide receivers are always difficult to peg, so just bear with me for a second.
Let me see if I can help you. Or I'll give you some names. I don't know if you had him this far, but Tyler Lockett, 2 fantasy points.
Oh, you scrolled real fast. I'm like way
Yeah,
behind. Yeah, Lockett.
he wasn't.
Lockett was buns.
Yeah, he was inconsistent all year though. He's kind of reached. He's 31 years old. JSN is in there. I think
Yeah.
his time is as a fantasy
He
receiver.
was okay. 34 fantasy points. I mean, wide receiver 34 this year. So he was flexible if you needed to throw him
Yeah,
in there.
but his time as as a startable every week guy, I think he's over.
Yeah, for sure. T. Higgins had 2.9 as well this week, so he bust. After having two very good fantasy playoff weeks, 22 and 25, weeks 15 and 16.
Yeah, decided to start him over DJ
2.
Moore, and look where that got me.
Ooh, bad news. Gabe Davis, baby! After having 23 and getting you here. This
Gabe
guy,
Davis experience.
listen to this. Listen to this roller coaster. It got worse. I didn't think it would. But he had 5, 21, 10, 15, 22, 3, 1, 23. That was the first 8 weeks. Since then, 0, 9, 0, 22, bye week. 0, 0, 23, 4. Good Lord, Gabe Davis. You are a disaster. And he still finishes wide receiver 40. Thank you, Josh Allen, for absolutely nothing. Chris Olave had 5.6, so I guess that would be the third best. You had Chris Olave with 5.6, Jordan Addison with 5.8, Devonta Smith had 6, so Stephon Diggs had 7. Man, dude, that guy, what a joke. What a joke. Hold on a second. I need to pull this up. From week 10 all the way to the end of the season. Let's see what Stephon Diggs' numbers are, where he's ranked. I'm still scrolling. I'm in the 30s. I've hit the 40s. 48. Wide receiver 48. He is a wide receiver 5, everyone, from week 10 to 17. Punt this guy straight to the sun.
So many leagues. And it's funny, last year, he finishes the wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
Had a monster year. We forget that he was like the wide receiver 1 going into the playoffs, and then he finished the year with like 3 straight 6-point weeks. And I thought that was just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's done it 2 years in a row. And this was even worse.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Kind of makes me nervous about him.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, he's 30 now. He just turned 30.
I might draft Dalton Kincaid next year and suffer through that. But
yeah,
did you say 29?
He just turned 30.
Ooh,
but just turned. He's going to be 30 next year.
Yeah,
so he's still okay, but
I don't think he's bad. I think that this is the Bills. Like, they're inconsistent team. We could just talk about.
They changed their whole offense too when they fired.
It's like, and I don't think that offense is going to work. At the end of the day, they started winning more football games. You want to know why that's the case? Because they stopped letting the quarterback huck the ball down the field and throw picks. Like, that's like
he still does.
Josh Allen had 19 turnovers going into last week. 19. Not just picks, freaking fumbles. Like he
threw a pick this week.
They dialed it back. And they started winning more football games. And that's just, it's as simple as that. The problem is when they get to the playoffs and they start playing teams that can actually score like Baltimore, they have to throw it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a challenge for them, ultimately at the end of the day. But I don't know what to do with Stephon Diggs. Like in dynasty leagues and next year, I'm not drafting him. I'm not doing that anymore. We're not playing that game. I got plenty of other receivers that I love, even though A.J. Brown only scored like 10 points in my semifinal matchup.
Yeah, he kind of fell apart too a little bit.
But I just, it's you know what, like taking Stephon Diggs out of the conversation, I've realized that teams with multiple wide receivers that can be wide receiver 1s, taking the Dolphins out of it, it does make it more of a challenge for them to, like those superstar wide receivers to step up. Because at times it was just for the Eagles, it was just who was the best option available. So anyway,
well, I think that would have been fine if their team as a whole kind of fell apart. For Philly,
yeah. All right, let's move to. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to move on to tight end booms and busts.
Let's just do that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tight end booms, we had Juwan Johnson with 23, Isaiah Likely with 18.
Oh yeah, these are definitely guys you're starting.
David Njoku, tight end league winner.
There we go. Bro, I told you.
26,
Look
27,
at his
16,
freaking
17.
stats since week 7, bro.
Oh, don't let Njoku
Or really
cook.
since week 14, Joe Flacco.
Oh, my word, bro.
You want to go
That's what I was going to
further.
say. 14, 15, 16, 17. He's probably the tight end. I'm going to go back let's look at it right now. He is the tight end 1 in fantasy football from weeks 14 to 17. From weeks 10 to 17, he is the tight end 1. From week 7 to 17, he is the tight end 1. Let's see how far back I can go. Week 6 to 17, he's the tight end 1. Week 5 to 17, tight end 3. So that's where it starts to drop off. I don't know what to do with that guy next year.
Dude, he had at least 6 targets in every game since week 7.
Oh, man, that's wild.
But when did Deshaun Watson get hurt permanently? Was that week 7?
I would imagine. And then he's going to come back next year and be like, oh, maybe I should target this guy. I don't know,
who knows?
Football. So he was really good. Good season for David Njoku. I don't know what to do about him next year because he's kind of old. But tight end, baby.
He's only 27. If
you were starting Cole Kmet in fantasy championships this week, which based on the last 4 or 5 games that he's played,
I think I had him in the lineup, I think.
And he had a total, like, DJ Moore didn't want to share any fantasy points, so Kmet had a total 0 burger.
Yikes. How about our boy Kyle Pitts? He was my set of the week at tight end.
How many points did he score?
1 fantasy point. And my reasoning for it had nothing to do with stats. I just said Arthur Smith is an idiot moron, and Kyle Pitts should never be in your fantasy lineup, at least until Arthur Smith is gone and they get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he got 1 point.
Wild. How many points did Kyle Pitts have?
1. What about our boy Travis Kelce, huh?
How many points?
Look at that playoff schedule. He had 4.6.
Yikes, Travis. Where did he finish?
He's still tight end too. But
Unreal. Yeah,
his points this year compared to last year, he has 100 fantasy points less this year than he did last year.
Yeah, so
in 2 less games though.
We don't want to,
because he's still tight end too, so it's not like you can crazy victory lap. But
don't get too nuts. But no, to me, he's still a really good tight end in fantasy football. But like the positional advantage that you thought you were getting from Travis Kelce this year,
you definitely did not
drafting
get
him in the first round. You didn't get, and this is the problem with drafting a tight end in the first round: is that regardless of what he's done in the past,
unless he's gonna get 400 fantasy points,
unless he gets 400, but it's like in PPR leagues, it's not worth it. There are freaking 20.
Last year, you had the argument to draft him late in the first round because he was putting up low end wide receiver. Or like he was like wide receiver 5, I think, if he was a wide receiver. So you had at least you felt okay about it, but doing it this year was a mistake.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think we'll get? Because I think Kelce. I think that's it. I mean, he's going to get drafted high no matter what because he's Travis Kelce. But I don't. I think the days of drafting him in the first round are over.
Yeah, I believe so. I think Travis Kelce might be next year. He might continue to fall off. This is the first year
he's 34, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm starting to hear some of the retirement stuff too with him, where it's like, tight ends usually they get so much punishment that it's like they tend to retire.
I would not be surprised at all if he retired.
Oh my God, would Mahomes be just beside himself though?
They would have to. Diggs to the Chiefs.
We'll all run and overdraft Rashee Rice.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, so he was a total bust. Kyle Pitts, Cole Kmet, Travis Kelce, those are your biggest.
Dude, George Kittle too. Throw him in there.
Hey, George Kittle always busts. He's a part of the bust train.
Well, his playoff schedule 7-19-5.
Yuck, that's gross.
That's just what he is, though. He's inconsistent.
Very inconsistent. All right, let's jump into some really, really quick ads for Week 18 because people are still playing fantasy football from Week 18. And
blows my mind.
I will say there's no one really for me at this point that I want to add at wide receiver or running back. Just looking at it,
it doesn't make.
It wouldn't make much sense for you if you're in a Week 18 championship to go grab some of these guys. Like somebody might want to go out and grab a Kevin Harris from the Patriots who has had a couple of nice runs, but and that's what's happening right now. 13,000 of you have picked up Kevin Harris. But yeah, there's no one at running back that I would pick up for this week, and there's no one at wide receiver that I'd really pick up this week. Because like anybody that I would pick up, I'd need to see multiple weeks of success, and because it's week 18, it doesn't matter. So the two main things we're going to focus on are the quarterback position. What the hell are 6,000 people doing picking up Tom Brady?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I
don't know where that
wild.
Came from either.
There was an IG post. I didn't text you about it, but there was an IG post with from Tom on New Year's Eve, and he was talking about how 2023 was this great year, and listing off all the things, and then he said at the end, he was like, except for that time in May when I was thinking about coming out of retirement, and then I got thrown a retirement party, and they kind of like forced my hand. I was like, wow, okay. Breaking news from Tom Brady's Instagram. And that drove 6,000 of you idiots
to apparently
run and pick him up.
To go pick him up.
Yeah.
Even though it's week 18.
They're like, he's going to sign with the Jets. Oh, man, I don't know.
Not happening.
Anyway, yeah, so like give me one quarterback that if you're in a week 18 championship that you want to start this week.
I think if you're in a week 18 championship, you're I don't know what's up with your league. I'm assuming it's maybe not super active, and this guy's still available in a lot of leagues. So I would say Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
the dude's on a heater.
Mm-hmm.
Ride it out. He's up against Cincinnati, which I think is a tough matchup, but so is the Jets. You're probably not going to find anyone at his level right now. He's had 4 straight weeks with 20 plus fantasy points, so I'd pick up Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco is the one I gotta definitely agree with. I know in keeper leagues this might be a thing because I don't think Tommy Brady's coming back, but keeper leagues people start making pickups at the end of the year.
Yeah,
and they'll say like if Brady comes back and then they get to their draft and they get to keep one player, they'll keep Tom Brady.
Yeah,
something stupid. Yeah, hey, chestnut checkers. But yeah,
exactly.
I agree with Rick. Joe Flacco's got to be the ad. Another guy that I honestly wouldn't add Nick Mullins, Tyrod Taylor, or Mason Rudolph. And if you're also thinking about Jarrett Stidham, I wouldn't add him either. It doesn't sound like Russ is going to play at all because their contract dispute, which technically speaking is illegal according to the NFL CBA.
Well,
I guess not.
I didn't stop them.
The people are running to the waiver wire and picking up Rob Gronkowski. What is going on?
I don't see that
happening. Guys, stop. Yeah. There's no one at tight end that I want.
No.
Who are these people? Juwan Johnson probably be the guy, or Brevin Jordan, but
yeah. I'll give you 2 other quarterbacks quickly.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sure.
In order though, it is Flacco 1, Derek Carr 2, Gardner Minshew 3.
Okay.
And those guys were on the Fantasy Pros waiver rankings. I think it makes sense because both guys are in very important games as well. Colts are in a playoff scenario. I think when you're in versus the Texans, both teams win they in. If they lose, they're out.
Yeah.
And I think Derek Carr, they need I think another thing to happen, but the Saints could make the playoffs if they win this week.
Okay. There you go. Week 18 waiver wire ads. That'll be on the graphic if any of you want to listen. It's been a wild ride this year, guys. It's been fun. We do have starts and sits on Thursday, and then that'll be it. That'll be it for 2023 fantasy football content. See you Thursday, guys. Bye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.